Hello everyone, myself Aditi and today I am back with LeetCode's daily challenge problem. So in this video we are going to tackle a problem that involves completing a set of courses with specific prerequisites. Okay, so let's get into the problem statement and let's read it together. So in this question you are given an integer n which indicates that there are n courses which are labeled from 1 to n. Okay, you're also given a 2D integer array named relations where relations j is a 2D array, okay, which consists of two elements. One is at index 0, another is at index 1. So previous course j is at index 0 and next course j is at index 1. So basically this 2D array, it just represents that the first element of the array, that is the previous course j, has to be completed before course in next course. Okay, so this simply means that this next course has some prerequisites. Okay, if you want to take or opt for the next course, you need to have completed the previous course. Only then you can go for the next course. So basically this is some kind of prerequisite relationship, and furthermore you are given a 0 indexed integer array named time, where time I denotes how many months it takes to complete the I plus 1th course. Fine. So in this question you have to find the minimum number of months which are needed to complete all the courses following these rules. So basically you have to find the minimum number of months which are needed to complete all courses, but you have to follow certain rules. What are those rules? First rule is you can start taking a course at any time if the prerequisites are met. Okay, and the second condition is any number of courses can be taken at the same time. So these two conditions or these two rules somewhat sound contradictory, but they are not. Okay, the first condition simply means, it says that you can start taking a course at any time if the prerequisites are met. Okay, you clearly saw here that prerequisites are only required for the next courses, okay, not for the previous courses. So basically the first element of this 2D array, that is the previous course, okay, that doesn't have any sort of prerequisite. So basically in a 2D array you can say number of previous courses whichever are available, you can opt for all of them at the same time, but you cannot do the same for next courses. Okay, so yeah, for next courses you have to have the prerequisites completed. So in order to understand the question better, let me take you to this example. And in this example you can see that n is 3. What does n mean? N simply says that there are 3 courses available numbered from 1 to 3. Okay, and the relations array, the 2D relations array is given to us as 1 3 2 3. Okay, so basically there are two sub arrays in the 2D array. One is 1 3, another one is 2 3. Okay, and they are in the sequence. This one is previous course, this 3 is the next course, this is previous course, and this is the next course. What does that mean? This means in this sub array, that is 1 3, the course number 1 doesn't have any prerequisite, so it is the previous course, but this 3 is the next course which wants you to complete the course 1 before you go for course 3. Okay, and similarly for in this sub array you can see this is the next course, this is the previous course. So in this, the third course again asks for a prerequisite that you have to complete the course number 2. Okay, and then you have to find the minimum time to complete all courses. Okay, so you can clearly see that in this example only course number 3 requires prerequisites, but what about courses 1 and 2? Course 1, course 2 doesn't have any prerequisite. Okay, so you have to find out the minimum time which is required to complete courses 1 2 3. Fine. So let me take you to okay, for basic understanding, let me take you to the explanation of this example. Okay, suppose n is 3 and the relation given to us is simply 1 3 2 3. In the example it is given that number of months which are required to complete course number 1 is 3, number of months required to complete course number 2 is 2 months, and for the third course you need 5 months for its completion. Okay, so since you have to find the minimum time, it's so obvious. There was a condition given in the question that you can opt for many courses at the same time. Okay, but that condition or that rule was applicable only when only applicable to courses which doesn't need a prerequisite. You can start them simultaneously at the same time. Okay, so what does that mean? It means if time is 0 and you are just starting the course, you know course 1 and course 2 doesn't have any prerequisite required. Okay, so basically you can say course 1, course 2 doesn't have any prerequisite, so you can start them at the same time. Suppose suppose you are starting at t is equal to 0. And since you are starting both the courses together, you are also seeking course number 1, you are also taking course number 2, and you clearly know that number of months required to complete the course 1 is 3 months. Okay, number of months required to complete the course 2 is 2 months. So if you are starting at t equal to 0, okay, and you are simultaneously taking these two courses, what does that mean? This simply means you will complete the course number 2 in 2 months, and you will complete the course in 3 months. Which course? Course number 1. This means in 3 months, you will be done with both the courses. Why? Because you are opting for them simultaneously. You will complete, because the time period required to complete course 2 is 2 months only, and for this it is 3 months, right? So in 3 months you will be done with course number 1 and course number 2, since you are completing the course simultaneously within the period of 3 months, right? So in 3 months you will be done with both. But for this course number 3, you need prerequisites. So basically you have to be done with courses 1 and 2 before you go for course 3. Okay, so time completed, okay, basically time which is time for completing courses 1 and 2 is 3. And now to you know complete course 3, you will have to add the number of months, because obviously you will only start course 3 after you are done with courses 1 and 2. So 3 plus 5 will give you the total number of months which are required to complete all the courses. Okay, that will be simply 8, you can say. Okay, so I hope the example is clear. You have to find the minimum, but then you cannot say you can if you okay, let me explain it in some other words. If you take this subarray, okay, here if you add number of months required to course 1 and number of months required to course 3, what will it be? It will be simply 3 plus 5, that is 8. Okay, but what about this? If you consider this subarray, you will just say time required to complete the course number 2 is 2 months, and time required to complete course number 3 is 5 months. It will give you total 7 months. Okay, so you will say 7 is minimum, or 7 is the minimum or the least time which can be considered. But no, you are required to complete all courses. Okay, you have to consider course 1 as well. So you cannot say you cannot just compromise with course 1 and say that you can complete the course within 2 months just like course number 2. Okay, so you will have to consider the course 1, and then only you will get the desired output. Okay, so the answer to this example is 8. Okay, now let's get back to our implementation part. So yeah, the same thing is written here, ns3, and then I have just explained the example right now. Courses 1 and 2 does not require any prerequisite, and only course 3 requires a prerequisite. So time array was given to us as simply time array was given to us as 3 to 5, and here this was giving us 7. So basically you have to consider this basically you have to consider all the courses. Okay, so it will be 8. Fine, let's start the implementation process. So yeah, before implementation, let me tell you that what are the key points or the data structures which are being used in the solution that I am going to present. Okay, so the thing is, in this question I need to explain you the concept of nodes and edges. Okay, in graphs, or in this problem you can say courses. Okay, the number of courses are like nodes, and prerequisite relationships are nothing but they are like directed edges. Okay, so you need to have a basic grasp over the concepts of graph. Okay, and so basically just to brief, courses in this question are like nodes, and the prerequisite relationships, okay, they are like directed edges. For example, let's suppose if a course A has to be taken before course B, what does that mean? For course B, A is the prerequisite. Okay, so that means that there is a directed edge from A to B. Okay, you will have to complete course A before you go for course B, so there will be a directed edge from A to B. Fine, now we are going to use in-degree approach in this question. Okay, now let me tell you something about in-degree approach. It's a technique, okay, to efficiently solve this question. In this question you will use the in-degree approach, okay, which will help us to keep track of how many prerequisites each course has. So basically for each course numbered from 1 to n, you will have to keep a track of how many prerequisites each course has. Okay, so for that part you have to use the in-degree approach. Now before we plan the implementation, or before we dive into the code, let me tell you, we have to identify the key data structures we'll be using. We'll be using arrays, lists, and maps. Okay, we'll also initialize these data structures to ensure efficient processing. Okay, start by initializing 3 important data structures. Okay, first of all, we are initializing an array list of integer, okay, named graph, of size n+1. Why? Because numbers or the courses are numbered from 1 to n, and in Java we always have 0 based indexing. Now, so graph is an array of lists here, and it just represents the graph structure where each element corresponds to a course. Okay, and the list associated with it contains courses that depends on it. Okay, so now let's initialize our indegree array. Let's initialize our another array named dp. Okay, so basically your indegree is an array list, or you can say it's an array that will store the number of prerequisites each course has. When I told you that indegree is an approach which will keep track of the prerequisites each course has. So in this array named indegree, we are going to store the number of prerequisites each course has. Okay. Similarly, in this dp array, it will be used to store the maximum time needed to complete each course. Okay. I hope these initializations are clear. Now this is graph initialization. We are initializing this loop from index 1 to n. So it will prepare the graph structure to store dependencies. Okay, or you can say, in other words, it will store the prerequisites. Graph I, we are assigning it the value array list. Okay, now we are, so yeah, first of all, we have just initialized the graph, and in this loop we are initializing each element of the graph array with a new array list. Okay, and this will prepare the graph structure to store dependency. Now let's start another loop. In this we are going to process relations, integer array, the 2D array relations. Every array, every sub array in the 2D array relations, we will iterate. Here we are initializing previous as. Okay, just when I said that in a 2D array, in the 2D array given in the question, there are 2 elements, previous course and next course. So previous course is at index 0 and this is at index 1. Okay, so I've initialized the previous as relation in the sub array basically, and then I'll initialize our next relation, which is at 1. Fine, which is at index 1. Now what am I going to do? I will add so basically what am I going to do? First of all, we are planning to just process the relations, and for each relation it does the following. First of all, it will extract the previous from the relation, it will extract the next from the relation, and then we will add the next to the list of courses that depend on previous in the graph. Okay, so we'll write graph of previous and we are adding the next to it. So what did we do? We are just adding next to the list of courses that depend on previous in the graph. Okay, now we will just increase in degree count. Okay, the count of in degree array. So basically we are incrementing it because this will reflect that it has one more prerequisite. Okay, every time we add a next course, that means we are adding one more prerequisite to the array. and that is we are basically we are just keeping track of the number of prerequisites added for every particular course present. Okay, now let's initialize a queue of integers linked list, and here what are we going to do? We are initializing first of all a queue to perform a topological sort, and in this we'll just iterate through each course from 1 to n. Okay, starting from course number 1 up to course n we'll iterate. Then what are we going to do? After, inside the for loop, we are going to check if indegree of I is equal to 0, that is for a particular course, if the number of prerequisites required is 0, what we'll do? We'll offer I. Okay, then dp of I will become time required for I minus 1 courses. Okay, so basically we are initializing a queue here to perform a topological sort, and here we'll iterate through each course from 1 to n, and we'll check if the indegree, or if a course has no prerequisites, that is if indegree of I is equal to 0, we will add it to the queue and set its completion time dpi to the time that it takes to complete the course. Fine, we use time I minus 1. Why? Because here time is 0 indexed. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, if a course doesn't have any prerequisite, that simply means the whatever number of months or the time which is required to complete that particular course, we'll assign the time for that particular course as the time given to us for it. Okay, but why I minus 1? Because time array is nothing but here 0 indexed. Okay, so I'll just I'll just decrease the count. Okay, now let's perform the topological sort. Here what are we going to do? We'll first initialize our max time as 0. Okay, course completion for all the courses, we are initializing it 0, and now let's perform a while loop. So yeah, this is where the actual algorithm happens. It's a modified version of topological sort, and while the queue is not empty, we'll check while the queue is not empty. While the queue is not empty, what am I going to do? Sorry, I'll just initialize my current time. Okay, so basically when it is not empty, we are just going to take a course, not current time, the current course from the queue. Okay, if it is not empty, we'll just initialize our current course as, we'll remove course from queue and we'll initialize it as our current course. Okay, now for each course from array of graph, okay, which is graph array, yeah, for each course that depends on current, we do the following. What are we going to do? We will first of all degree of next yeah, so we'll keep, first of all we'll decrease the indegree of the dependent course. Also, what are we going to do? We will update the completion time. Okay, dp next will be equal to the maximum of time required to complete the next course, time required to complete the current course, plus time of next minus 1. Time is a 0 indexed array here. Okay, so basically we'll update the completion of dp for the dependent course if needed. Okay, now we'll also keep track of the maximum time. Okay, we'll keep track and maximum time will be equal to math.max of our max time and time required to complete the next course. And then we'll check if dependencies or the prerequisites or the indegree you can say for the next course is 0, then we will add it to the queue dot offer next. Okay, we'll offer the next course to the whosoever is opting for it. Okay, if there are no prerequisites required for the next course, we'll just opt it directly. Okay, and then we'll initialize our total time here, total time as 0. Okay, total time for completion, and then after processing all the courses we find the maximum completion time. Okay, so we have to process now, starting from course number 1 till course number n. Let's process the array once again and let's find the or calculate the value for total time, which will be equal to math.max of total time, obviously that is 0 here, and the time required to complete the ith course. Okay, now I can simply now I can simply return my total time. So yeah, after processing all the courses we find the maximum completion time and maximum completion time required for any course, and this will be the minimum time which is needed to complete all the courses. Let's run the code. Okay, okay, so here there is a mistake for every sub array in the 2D array relations. Okay, so the code is accepted. Let's submit the code. Okay guys, thank you for watching. Stay tuned. So yeah, you just learned how to approach and solve a problem which involves completion of courses which require prerequisites. Okay, and I hope this tutorial or this video you just found it helpful. Okay, I'm hoping that the explanation was fine to you, and if you have any further doubts regarding this particular question or any other question, please let me know in the comment section. Thank you for watching once again.